In this video, we're going to be looking at writing a linear equation from a graph. So number 1 says that the graph below shows the number of gallons of gas Y remaining in a car after X number of miles. Write an equation of the line in slope-intercept form. Then we're going to interpret the slope and y-intercept. How many gallons of gas remain after driving 232 miles? So this question is really asking 3 different things. First, we're going to find the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. So looking at my graph right here, I see my line, and I see I'm given 2 different points here. I'm given the point 0, 12 and the point 128. So from our last video, to find the equation of this line, I know I first need to find the slope between those 2 points, and then use that slope in one of these points to find the equation of the line. So here, I'm going to go ahead and label my points. I have x1, y1, x2, y2, and plug that into my slope formula. So y2, I get 8 minus y1, which is 12, over x2, which is 120, minus x1, which is 0. 8 minus 12, I get negative 4 over 120. And then simplifying out that fraction, I get negative 1 over 30. And now we're going to go ahead and plug this into my point slope formula. So I have m equals negative 1 over 30, and I'm going to use that first point 0, 12. So I have y minus 12 is equal to negative 1 over 30 times x minus 0. And so I guess have negative 1 over 30 times x. And then adding 12 to both sides, I get that y is equal to negative 1 over 30x plus 12. So let's answer that first question. And you may have noticed we didn't actually have to do all this work. My 0, 12 here, that is actually my y-intercept. And I have my slope, so I could have automatically gone to my equation y equals negative 1 over 30x plus 12 because I have my slope. 12 is my y-intercept. So I didn't necessarily have to do all that work, but I want to show you that you can still do that even if you have that information. Okay, the next part says to interpret the slope and y-intercept. So here it's important to know what my x stands for and what my y stands for. So first, my slope, negative 1 over 30. Means, well, the negative 1, that stands for your y, so this is going to be gas remaining. And 30, that's your x value, because remember, for our slope, it was change in y over change in x. So 30 is your x, which stood for distance. And we're seeing it's decreasing. So I can say the slope of negative 1 over 30 means the gas remaining in the car decreases by 1 gallon every 30 miles. Then it says to interpret the y-intercept, and the y-intercept here is 12. Or I can write it as 0, 12. Remember, 0 is your x, 12 is your y. So 0 for x means you haven't traveled anywhere. Y stands for the gas remaining in the car. So that means before you travel anywhere and you have a full tank of gas, it's 12 gallons. So I can say the y-intercept 0 to 12 means the car starts with 12 gallons of gas. Okay, and then the last question says, how many gallons of gas remain after driving 232 miles? So here we're going to be plugging 232 into our equation, but we need to figure out whether we're plugging in for x or we're plugging in for y. Well, x stands for distance traveled, and it's saying we drove 232 miles. So we know that x is equal to 232. So that means I'm going to plug that into my equation. So I have y equals negative 130 times 232 plus 12. And now doing 232 times negative 1 over 30. I have negative 232 over 30 plus 12. And when you go ahead and put that into your calculator, you should get approximately 4.3. Okay, let's look at one more. So this one says the graph shows the distance a space rocket travels in x seconds. Write an equation of the line and interpret the slope and y-intercept. How long does it take for the rocket to travel 15,400 miles? Okay, so here we have my graph given the point 2066, and I see the line starts at the origin, so that means that this point over here is 0, 0. I see that x stands for time and y stands for distance. So first I want to write the equation of the line, and so I have 0, 0, and 2066 as my 2 points. So I first need to find the slope, so I'm going to label this as x1, y1, x2, y2. So I have m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I have 66 minus 0 over 20 minus 0. So I get 66 over 20. And when you simplify that, that means that m is equal to 33 over 10. So I have that my slope is m equals 33 over 10. And I know my b here is equal to 0 because my y-intercept is at 0. So I can automatically go straight to my equation that it is y is equal to 33 over 10 x. You could put plus 0, but you're not adding anything, so we'll leave it like this. Okay, so then the next question says to interpret the slope and y-intercept. So I can say that the slope is 33 over 10. Means, well, my y stands for distance, and my 10 stands for time. So I can say that this means that the rocket travels 33 miles every 10 seconds. Another way you could write this, if you decided to write your slope here as 3.3, that is completely okay to do. And then when you're interpreting your slope, you would then say that the rocket travels 3.3 miles every 1 second. Either way is fine. They both mean the same thing. Okay, and then our y-intercept we found to be 0, so I can say the y-intercept 0. means that the rocket didn't travel in the beginning. So in other words, we can say that the rocket started at the ground. Okay, and then for this last part, it says, how long does it take for the rocket to travel 15,400 miles? So here we want to plug that into our equation again. But now we have to see, what does 15,400 miles? Is that my x or my y? Well, my y is distance. So this is telling me that y is equal to 15,400. And so we're going to plug that into our equation. So I have 15,400 is equal to 33 over 10x. Okay, so to move that fraction to the other side, I can multiply by the reciprocal. So I can multiply both sides by 10 over 33. And when I do that, I'm going to have 15,400 times 10 to get 154,000, and I'm going to divide that by 33, and I get that x is approximately 4,666.7